Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 8.52. Now, as I'm recording this a day or two ago, 8.53 Black Ice came out. That's great news. It's basically going to be the final Black Ice, barring for Hearts of Iron 3. Obviously, they're working on Black Ice for 4, but it'll be the final Black Ice, barring minor bug fixes, but no new features are planned or developments are planned for Black Ice for 3, which is sort of kind of good. People will be able to finish a game now, and that's actually sort of serious because often we are getting part way through in the past and new version come out, but also it's a realistic thing that they've pushed what they can with the engine as its current state as much as they could. So it's just pushed it as far as they can go. And for my part, that also means I will be updating Third Reich events for Black Ice soon. Think weeks here, not too many, but weeks here. A few new events I believe are sort of created and done, but there's others that are in sort of partial stage and things I want to finish off for various reasons I want to get done. I've already done some bug corrections, and then obviously got to do compatibility stuff. I'll have to look and just see how significant some of the changes are. Some of them it's a big long event file for Germany, and I just change a few things, and often the things that I change don't change at all. It's just some new events have been added somewhere else in the file, and if you use my old file you'll miss maybe unimportant but maybe important changes. So I just have to do that update. So even if I wasn't going to do more, but because I do plan on doing more, wanting this to be the last good big but version of Third Reich events, we will be it will take a little while, but not too long. So do sort of what I'm doing if because I know all of you who like Third Reich events obviously like playing Germany, but break out and play another country, whether it's Britain, Japan, Italy. Do something else for a while waiting for Third Reich events. And again, Third Reich events is designed for a human player of Germany. Now, all of the events have where there's multiple things the AI will do, and then I give it a percentage. Often it's 100% down a certain path, but other times it's a 60-40. But I think on the whole, Third Reich events makes Germany harder to play, especially with some, although it will build, but especially at the build costs that are built in, because we remove and then you have costs to build the west wall and things like that I think on a whole that makes it harder to play Germany. And obviously we haven't been crushing Germany by any means here, but I sort of, now we haven't been playing against Third Reich events of course as well. I sort of feel that making it easier to defeat Germany is maybe not the best thing for a player's approach kind of thing. But I do know that the Roman ruler, who often plays as Germany but often also plays as Italy, has played very many games with Third Reich events installed, and obviously he's playing as an ally of Germany when he's playing as Italy mostly, I believe. Says it works fine, works well, Germany does well. So it's made to work and run as AI as playing as Germany. So if you have it installed and if you decide to play another game, you can go ahead and do that. There's no reason you have to uninstall it. It's designed to be done that way, but just with this sort of caveat that it may make Germany's life, and I believe it does, though I have not gotten all the math down, because there's obviously a lot of things that benefit Germany within Third Reich events, but I've not sort of mathed it out. I've just sort of gone by the seat of my pants and my knowledge of Germany and the conditions. And with that being said, also because I do know it does give certain benefits, though I take away things at the start that fairly quickly get put back in, but it sort of magnifies it not having it at the start. I've also beefed up the US and Britain a little bit to compensate for some of that when you're playing with Third Reich events. So all the stuff I think within reasonably historically justifiable things, meaning I haven't just done it to make the US as a tougher opponent. I've sort of gone, well, I'm giving this benefit, this benefit, this benefit, and this benefit, and I really, as I've learned more and more about Hearts of Iron, both 3 and 4, they sort of started at a point and worked their way backwards. Well, how do we get Germany to make 5,000 tanks by 1943? Okay, then we need this amount of factories. Without going, well, what was the factory output of German tank factories? And then that's what it should be. Now you may go, well, that's what they did. No, Germany before the war would often say, hey, make me 60 of these model Panzer IIs, and whichever tank man or whoever was that they were talking to at the time, they'd make 60 of those Panzer IIs. So that was sort of the production run for 3 months or something like that. And then they drove them around and tested them out, training up. They could have turned on that factory to produce Panzer IIs, and it would have turned out 80 a month, say, for those 3-month period, and just left the spigot on until they decided, oh, well, now we want to, after testing them out, we want to now change X or Y on it, so it's now the 2B or the 2C or the 2 what, what sort of various changes they would do, and then make the changes and continue on. No, they just sort of let produce X amount, okay, then stop, and produce X amount of this, and then, okay, now we want to do a few more. And they were doing that. And this continued when the war started. They did not turn over. I know this on tank production. They did not turn it on and say, turn on factory X, produce as many tanks as you can. They said, well, our target goals are this. And part of that was resource management, meaning the amount of steel, what's going to ships, what's going to tanks, what's going to artillery. And part of it was that, but part of it was, this is what we think we need, so produce that. And then once the war was over, they stopped some tank production of models because, hey, the war was over. They defeated France. The war was over. Oh yeah, England hadn't surrendered yet, but we've got plenty of tanks to defeat England if we can get across the channel. But the war was over. And this is how the German army and a lot of the procurement elements looked at it, that they reduced, sometimes stopped or reduced the amount of tanks they were demanding. And obviously the war wasn't over. Now, it wasn't until basically in 41 that, and it was just a few divisions that started to mess around with Britain in the Mediterranean. And then because it was after, basically, it was the Germans went to the Mediterranean, North Africa after the Yugoslav Greece situation, and that delayed Barbarossa. So, we're talking, 6 months into 41 did they finally start So it was almost a year from, say, let's just say July 40 to July 41, that they had slowed a lot of production down. Now, I'm not saying, because I don't know aircraft numbers and aircraft factories, because, you know, they've been fighting the Battle of Britain with the air, and I know they were ramping up submarine production during the time. And so it wasn't everything going back, oh, well, we're now at peace, but it was, well, we're no longer at war, and we need better equipment that was shown, you know, in the, you know, Battle of France. So that's why they were starting to step up to the 50 millimeter gun and then to the longer 50 millimeter gun and some of that stuff already, and they were realizing that that was going to be the future. So we don't need a lot of the older Panzer IIIs, you know, the 37 millimeter Panzer IIIs, and we definitely don't need the Panzer IIs. Well, obviously you can take a Panzer II and take the turret off and turn it into a Marder II, or you can purpose build them as Marder IIs, but they did not start. The earliest Marder type, well, okay, they had the Jagdpanzer I and sort of that type of weapon, but with the 47 millimeter. No, I'm going into this, but I hope it's interesting. The 47 millimeter Czech anti-tank gun, but outside of that, and that was a very limited stopgap measure for that, they did not do any of the Marder IIs or Marder IIIs, which are the two. The Marder III is just the Marder type on the Czech 38T, and the 2 is on the Panzer II whole. And there's variants within them, but that's basically what they were. They did not start the Marder type development until after the invasion of the Soviet Union, and they captured a bunch of the 76.2 millimeter dual purpose guns and a bunch of ammunition from the Soviets. That I think the earliest ones with that, they were realizing, well, the British Army tanks, particularly the Matildas, which they had already encountered in in northern France, but those and then some of the other tanks were just a little too hard to knock out, and you can't just surround them and overwhelm them as easily in the desert because it's open terrain as you might be able to do in the limited maneuvering of, you know, there's much tighter maneuvering around rivers and hills and hedgerows. I know the famous ones are the bocage is out here, but there were hedgerows and other things that you could be, you know, 1,000 yards away and completely unseen from the enemy tanks. You know, some other scout might see you, but and moving around to the rear and just, you know, doing that kind of stuff where you can't do that out here in the much more open desert. And even if you can't identify the enemy, you can see the dust clouds, and so that they were always more prepared for situations. So it was the combination. The early Marder IIIs were the, like I was saying, the captured Soviet stuff, and then they started to encounter more and more T-34 type and KV-1 tanks that they were realizing that they had to convert, not just convert current Panzer IIs, and 38Ts, but convert production, you know, move production from the Panzer II to the Marder II, and from the 38T to the Marder III. So that's not really starting to happen until late 41, getting into 42. So that these tank models, like the 38Ts, like the Panzer IIs, were sort of discontinued, and we don't really need them. And as it showed out, they kept the 38T in one form or another into production until after the fall of, because they sort of ignored Czechoslovakia and drove for Berlin until after the fall of Berlin, because they were still producing the Hetzer, which is a 38T's running gear. They moved the engine from the rear, moved it front, rear, back at different times, but you know, moved the engine around and sort of really cramped inside of that Hetzer. But it was the running gear, the base, the same engine, same transmission and all that stuff. It was the same basic thing, except for, you know, obviously a new upper hull and different gun mounting on it, but they kept that through until the end. And that was only because they could not effectively shift production into something better, or they would have. It was good enough. It met a need. And had they kept those 38Ts in high gear production, those would have either A, been useful at a critical time, like the initial stages of the invasion of the Soviet Union. Germany was pushing in so fast at times that tank divisions were down to 10 or 20 tanks, not primarily from battle damage or loss, but from simply mechanical failures in pushing, because they weren't being moved forward on trucks, that had the towing a trailer that moved the tanks. Tanks were driving so that the tank, where between the engine, the transmission, and the wheels and tracks, something was breaking down on them, that effective tanks were down into the handfuls for divisions, and even the combat damage was often enough that put the tank out of action but not destroyed the tank, so that all these tanks were sitting in various field repair yards that they were setting up. And so these tank divisions, were more like light motorized infantry divisions, and I say light because armored divisions didn't have as much infantry, and they just had a little bit of armor, and that's sort of how they were exhausting themselves in this race to invade the Soviet Union, and also realizing to be able to basically double the number of panzer divisions for the invasion of Russia. They just simply took half of the panzer battalions away from the current panzer divisions, basically, and used those to form new divisions. Obviously, you had to supply a whole new set of trucks and artillery and all the other supporting arms to the divisions, so you had already reduced that down. Well, instead of doing that, had they kept from the fall of France, and not just kept the level of production before the fall of France, because even before the fall of France, there was this sort of start-stop kind of deals going on with the production runs of tanks and what the army was ordering. Had they just turned the spigot on, they would have had a lot more tanks for the invasion of the Soviet Union. So in those critical days when most of the T-34s were sort of sitting over here, they could have easily overrun more targets, surrounded more units, just did more with them, with even the 38T effectively early on. And then, of course, at some point, all those holes could have been converted over to martyrs or whatever. So that is sort of, so that's how I judge the sort of the mistakes, or the way that this game has been designed. That's where we started, if you remember, with this. So I am not, because we only have ICs here, unlike, one of the many things I really love about 4. 4 is not to this level of completion yet. That's absolutely true. But is the idea that you have shipyards and you have military factories and you have civil factories. Because a small arms factory that makes machine guns and rifles don't make 10-inch. Hopefully the gardeners aren't too noisy here. You don't make 10-inch naval guns. They just, they might both use the same steel, but you don't produce those out of the same factory. So it's not, necessarily a direct competition between some of those production things. So, and obviously in here, it's sort of the production needs for various unit types, and basically these things up here, which obviously we're way over for Britain right now, over resourced, except for the fuel, but is just sort of, these are all flat deductions, not certain aircraft. Aircraft take more aluminum, and rifles take 0 aluminum, kind of thing. So there's just so much better about. Okay, well, I've spent enough time talking on this other stuff. Let's get to playing. I hope some of my thoughts are interesting. Okay, jungle unit training, great. Okay, well, let's see how, we were, okay, so we're doing okay with that, and these are both, it's 38, so we'll let that go. Mountain unit probably also, no, mountain unit, okay, 37, so we'll continue those. Going. Looks like the U.S. has made some heavy advances here. So we're moving up here again to hopefully support our attacks. And yeah, we're losing. Well, good. Looks like these Italian units particularly are completely devoid of equipment and supplies and men and whatnot. Now, I've also noticed here a bit of a rebellion here in China, which is nice. It's distracting the Japanese somewhat. And the U.S. has also made a bit of a offensive, well, the Filipinos here actually. I should say the AI has made the offensive move, so we also joined in to hopefully help with that. And of course we are responding to our, basically the US and Australia failed to protect New Guinea well enough, so we're going in there. And our other new war of Iraq we're responding to. The only thing we're in danger of really losing here, battle-wise, it's cavalry unit, so of course it's against a determined attack isn't a formidable foe. Well, good. Pushed into there, so let's see if we can push into here. Got infantry tanks supporting them. Oh, good. The conscript unit didn't do so well, but shouldn't. Okay, well, here. Let's see, let's take out that Iraqi unit. Okay, we've won here, nice. And we've won there. And they're counterattacking. Which of course we knew they would, but hopefully getting there in enough time that it stalls them out. Okay. 1943 elections. Why are we holding elections now? he didn't hold elections in the war. Well, let's look at this. Not letting me change this. Daily Descent. Ramsey McDonald? This sucks. This really sucks. Let's see, we have 2 apologetic clerks. That also sucks. Don't have a choice there. Now, leadership's nice, but I don't like that hit on money that Churchill's giving us here. Crude oil, that would be nice. That's the wrong picture there. For Grig. Obviously, Babazon has no picture. Oliver Stanley. Beaverbrook, yeah, that's the right picture for Beaverbrook, that's for sure. That's nice. Manpower, but organization and practical decay, but looking sort of at that. And so crude oil, we're going to select that. Foreign minister, yeah, apologetic clerk, that's right. Minister of Security. We both have ruling party support, organization regain rate, though. That isn't really my problem, not even manpower is my problem, so we'll leave him there. Who is it currently? It's Sinclair. Resources is nice, but outside of oil I don't need that. Maybe. Let's go with this. More I see. Leave him. Chief of the Army Supply Construction. Ironsides look pretty good. Yeah, we'll go with Ironsides because even though he slows movement, combat movement speed down, I like the organization bonus. That's sort of been a while, but Okay. Yep. National Bank of Settlement. Yes. Yes, that will help us out as well. Japan is counterattacking. They're just attacking maybe, but... Okay, well, they can take that, but we're going there. They're pushing us out here, but oh well. Sure, Bulgaria, you can attack. Okay, well, we're going to end the episode here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. See you next time.